Good afternoon, evening, morning. I don't even know what time it is. It's in the evening here, but when you guys watch this, welcome back. My name is Jen. Thank you so much for joining me. I have been a truck driver for 6 years, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about a very, very important subject. Winter is coming, so let's talk about how to prepare your truck for the winter. Let's get started. Alright drivers, we have a lot to cover. I apologize for looking down. I do have quite a few notes here. I just want to make sure that I tackle every topic that I have here. So I will be looking down on the screen just for my notes, so just FYI. Okay, let's talk about the actual truck itself. So there are several things that you need to do way before it starts getting super cold. Starting in probably early October, I would start making sure you have these items, making sure you're checking things, making sure you're doing some minor maintenance on the truck before the winter temperatures actually get here. Alright drivers, we're going to talk about some of the basics that we need to do for our truck. First thing we're going to talk about is the windshield. Your windshield is going to get disgusting and gross and dirty constantly during the winter. You've got to deal with all the salt getting thrown back up on your truck, between that and mud and all kinds of stuff. So we need to make sure that we can keep our windshield as clean as possible throughout the winter months. How do we do that? Well, first of all, we need to buy the right kind of windshield wiper fluid. If you go to a truck stop, you're going to see different colors, different types. Okay, make sure you read the labels. There is a green type that's typically for the summer. It's going to have like a bug treatment in it. Don't buy that, by the way. It's always clogged up my nozzles on my truck. Don't buy that. There's blue options. There's a blue color option, and then there's a purple option. Now the blue can be a little tricky, so make sure you read the labels. There is a blue option for more of like the summer and early fall months. It will start to freeze at 32 degrees. Okay, so make sure you read the label. There's another blue option that you can get that will, the temperature will go down to -20 before it starts to freeze. Depending on where you're going to be driving around during the winter, it should serve most drivers fairly well. Okay, I strongly recommend that you guys go ahead and start getting the purple. That's down to -32 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. That's going to be your best bet of making sure that your washer fluid does not freeze during the winter months. Okay, so either the blue that's -20 or the purple that's -32. Those are going to be your best options. So what you can do is you can go ahead and start adding those two to the fluid that you already have inside your truck, and then by the time it starts to get really down into those colder temperatures, that regular windshield wiper fluid should be out of your system by that time. Okay, so that's the number one thing we need to do. Number two, make sure you check your windshield wiper blades. Okay, and also if you can, make sure you have an extra set on the truck with you. They're gonna get completely wrecked. Okay, you're gonna go through blades quite a bit with all the ice that builds up, and you're just gonna be constantly using your windshield wipers while you're out there, I promise. Okay, so make sure you guys change out your blades. Make sure you have an extra set, if possible, on the truck with you. One of the biggest issues with during the winter months is your fuel system. This is very important. There's a couple of smaller things that you can do that are going to really help you prevent from your diesel fuel gelling up during the winter. Okay, the most people say that diesel fuel starts to gel up between 10 and 16 degrees. Okay, it's going to depend on what type of additives they have inside of the fuel. Is it biodiesel? Like, how much is it biodiesel? You know, there's a lot of different elements to it. So, but I say starting at 16 degrees, you should go ahead and start treating your diesel fuel. Okay, how do you do that? Well, you're in luck, because I'm going to tell you. One of the biggest things that you need to make sure that you do, especially if you're going to be running up into the northern states a lot during the winter, make sure you try and fuel as much as possible in the northern states. Okay, what they do up north is they have a winterized diesel that they use at the truck stops. It already has additives in it. It already has a certain amount of anti-gel and all kinds of different stuff. It has less biodiesel, because biodiesel tends to gel up easier. So make sure you try and fuel up in the north during the winter months, because that's going to help keep your fuel treated fairly well for during the winter. Okay, this is edit gen. Okay, I forgot one thing about the fuel. Make sure that you guys do not try to keep your fuel tanks above half a tank at all times. What that does, it kind of helps eliminate the possibility of condensation building up and getting water into your fuel system, which can cause freezing, which can cause a ton of different issues. Okay, quick edit. Sorry, I forgot to put that in the original video. Let's get back to the other stuff. Another thing that you need to do on top of that type of fuel is you need to buy what they call anti-gel. Okay, now there are products at the truck stops. Okay, you're gonna see one that's called like Power Diesel. You're gonna see Diesel 911. You're gonna see Howes. Those are gonna be probably your biggest three that you're gonna see at most major truck stops. Make sure that you are reading the label, okay, because they have different types of additives for different types of situations. Okay, there's an anti-gel, that's the one you're gonna want. Okay, they have some that are like fuel octane boosters. They've got like fuel additives for like different things, like cleaning the injectors, stuff like that. It's not going to help you. Okay, they also have a type that is called a D-gel. Okay, so what that's going to do is, if you have already had your diesel fuel gelled up into your system, that's going to help get it more liquefied, so that way you can get your truck started and get it taken care of. Okay, so make sure you read the labels. You're looking for anti-gel. Okay, I would recommend having D-gel on your truck with you as well, just in case you're just in a bad situation and you run into that problem. Okay, make sure you're nice and prepared. So with the anti-gel, another thing that you need to check on the labels is how many gallons one bottle can treat. Okay, some of them are 100 gallons, some of them are 50, some of them are up to 250 gallons. Okay, so make sure you read the labels, so that way you know how much you need to have on the truck with you. And I also recommend that you guys have an extra bottle on the truck just in case. Okay, let's play a little scenario here. Let's say that you are at a shipper or receiver. You guys have a drop and hook. You drop the trailer you brought in. You go back to the back wherever the empty trailers are. You go to pick it up. You start to move, and two things can happen here. So we're going to talk about two things. Number one is, if the trailer has been sitting there for a while and it's been really cold during that time, there's a good possibility that the brakes have frozen together on the trailer. So when you start to move, your wheels are not going to be turning, right? So what you guys need to do is make sure you have like a small hammer. Okay, it doesn't have to be some big whammer jammer thing. Okay, just make sure you have a hammer on your truck. All you need to do is release the brakes and push the red button in on inside your truck. You need to go back. Okay, just tap on the brakes on the back, so that way they will kind of pop. You'll kind of hear them pop sometimes, and that'll get them unstuck. Don't go back there, you know, slamming the crap out of them, because you're going to break them. But you just go back there, tap them, tap around the edge, you know, go around in a circle, and that should do the trick. Okay, what you need to do to make sure that your brakes have been released is you need to turn. As you're turning, you need to make sure that you can look in your mirrors, your side mirrors, to make sure that the wheels are actually turning. Okay, so that's how you can double check to make sure that you did actually get the brakes released. Another situation that can happen is, and this has happened to me before, you slide under that trailer, you get everything hooked up, you're good to go, brakes are good, you start to try and move out and you're just spinning because you're on top of ice, okay? So there's a couple things that you guys can have on the truck with you to make sure you can help get you some traction to get out of that situation. You can get de-icer, okay? It's like these little, it looks like salt, but they're a little bit, sometimes they're a little bit bigger, pebbles, I guess is what you want to call it. Sprinkle it around, let it sit there for a few minutes. And what I also like to do is have either sand or cat litter. You can find cat litter at the truck stops pretty cheap. And then I'll put it on top of that, and that should give you enough traction to get out of that spot so you can get going, okay? Very, very important, because it's going to be very embarrassing if you're going to have to call somebody either to pull you out or get a tow truck. No, just de-icer and either get some sand or some cat litter to help give you some more traction. Speaking of traction, you need to make sure that you have tire chains on the truck with you during the winter months. Even if you don't go out to the states that it's required by law to have them on you, I do recommend always having chains on your truck. You could find yourself, again, in that same situation, you could find yourself where you're just stuck. You went down a embankment, whatever, I don't know. Find yourself on ice, you have no other option. You can actually use the chains to kind of help you get some traction to get out of that situation, okay? It is required by law in certain states during certain times of the year to have chains, even if you're not going to chain. Okay, so make sure you guys have the proper amount of chains on your truck. That way you don't get a ticket, because it's an expensive ticket. Let's see. Start running your bunk heater. I recommend doing this. I found out a few years ago the hard way that my bunk heater wasn't working and it was already too cold. Okay, so go ahead and start running it maybe once or twice a week. Even if you don't need it, run it, let it run for a little bit, and then turn it back off, okay? What it does is it kind of gets like all the oils and the juices and everything, kind of gets everything working and ramped back up, the ignition, you know, whatever kind of heater you guys have. It just kind of helps keep everything flowing, so that way when you do need it later on, it should be good to go. Also, if there is any other, if it is having an issue, if it's malfunctioning, if it's not working, you can go ahead and get that fixed now before you run into a potentially bad situation to where you don't have heat in the truck. Let's talk about your air lines, your air tanks. Let's talk about that kind of stuff. The biggest part of helping to maintain your air system, your airline system, is to drain your air tanks, okay? Make sure you guys are doing this. Every time you fuel up, make sure you're draining those tanks. So what you need to do, if you're in a Freightliner specifically, other trucks might be a little bit different, but typically, especially in Freightliners, all you got to do is where your batteries are underneath the driver's seat, there's a little flap, okay, a little metal flap. You just pull that down, and you've got to kind of look over to the right and to the left of the battery cage, essentially. What it is these little lines. It's you know, just some basic cords. All you gotta do is pull those up, and you'll start to hear air coming out. You just pull them up. If you want to get some bands to kind of hold them down, and just let them drain. Just drain, 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 drain. You're not going to hurt the system if you let it completely drain out, okay? Just let them stay open while you fuel, and then once you get done, you can just release them, and you should be good to go, okay? What that's going to do, it's going to prevent the water that can kind of build up in your airlines. It'll freeze, okay? So water is a huge source of problems for trucks during the winters. So make sure you drain the tanks every single time that you guys fuel up, okay? Let's see. Make sure you have a snow brush and an ice scraper. You're gonna, you know, depending on where you run, you might just do a quick brush off of your hood, of the sides, your steps, your catwalk, where the airlines connect to. And if you have ice on your windshield and stuff, you can just scrape that off really quick. So make sure you guys grab one of those. I know Amazon, actually I'll put some links in the description below for you guys of just stuff that I've picked up off of Amazon. The one I got, it's an extender. One side's the brush and one side's the scraper. It works pretty good. So make sure you guys pick one of those up as well. Tire pressure. Tire pressure. Let's talk about tire pressure. It's going to fluctuate even more during the winter than what it typically does during the summer. You could start in Georgia where it's 60 degrees, and you could end up in Minnesota where it's like -20, right? It's going to fluctuate like crazy. So make sure that you guys are checking your tire pressure all the time, every day. I mean, you should be anyway, right? But especially during the winter, make sure you keep an eye, check your tire pressure, make sure they're properly inflated, because that's a whole mess during the winter, okay? Tire pressure. All right, so that's general basics for the truck itself. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna step inside the truck. We're gonna talk about some stuff that you guys need to have to keep yourself safe during the winter, okay? You need to have proper clothing. I know. Who would have thought, right? Proper clothing is going to be super important. My checklist typically is make sure you have plenty of hats, like beanies, some thick toboggan, whatever. Okay, just make sure you have some big thick hats, neck warmers. Make sure you have like a balaclava, I believe is what it's called, something to cover your face and your nose. Make sure you have multiple different types of jackets, okay? Make sure you have like a hoodie, you've got a light jacket, a heavy jacket. Make sure you have like a windproof jacket or a waterproof jacket. The one I use, hang on a second. So this is the one that I really like. This is by, if you can believe it or not, this is actually by Mossy Oak. And it's got kind of like the, I don't know what you would call it. What it does basically is if it gets wet, it's not waterproof, but it's water resistant. So if it gets wet, if it snows, it just kind of wipes right off. Okay, so make sure you're not using like cotton or anything. Try to use like kind of like a synthetic fabric like this that makes this kind of noise. I don't know the name. I'm so sorry. I feel so dumb right now. This jacket has been amazing. It's a Thinsulate jacket. Again, I'll put it down in the description. It keeps me very warm through most of the winter conditions. Especially if you're going to be flatbed, make sure that you have a good solid layering system. You don't want to use cotton while you're out there strapping and tarping, okay? Make sure it's like polyester, more of the synthetic fibers to make sure you stay nice and dry, okay? Thermals, thermal underwear, both top and bottom. Make sure you guys have a few good pairs. Nice thick socks are another good option. Make sure you guys have those. You also want to have some good insulated waterproof gloves. Very, very important, because your fingers they get really cold really quick. Okay, so make sure you guys have some good quality gloves. And also try to buy a good set of boots, preferably waterproof, snow boots, something that has a good solid grip and a good solid tread on the bottom, okay? If you're walking through the truck stop parking lot, you're gonna run into some ice, and you don't wanna fall backwards and, really hurt yourself, okay? So make sure you guys are stocking up on good quality clothing for the winter. Okay, let's play another scenario situation. Let's say that your bunk heater has stopped working. Let's say that you have no electrical, let's say you can't power on the truck at all. Okay, so let's say your batteries have died, or there's something wrong with the truck where you can't run it. Okay, you're screwed, right? It's completely turned off. Whether it's just your bunk heater or it's the truck itself, you don't have access to a heating source, okay? Let's talk about our bedding. Very important. So make sure you guys have plenty of heavy blankets, something that's going to keep you nice and warm in case that you don't have a heating source. I also strongly recommend that you guys get a 0-degree sleeping bag. Again, I do have the stuff that I use here on the truck that I've had for years. I will leave Amazon links in the description below if you guys just want to check it out and grab it. You're more than welcome to. It's totally up to you. So it's just stuff that I've used, and it's never let me down, okay? So yes, bedding, make sure you have plenty of blankets, and make sure you also have a 0-degree sleeping bag, a mummy style that has the hood, so that way you guys can cover your head as well, okay? Let's talk about food. Food is very important. Again, if you find yourself in The middle of nowhere, Montana, it's going to take them days to get to you because of the weather, whatever the case may be. You don't have power to your truck, you're in a really bad situation. You need to make sure that you have plenty of food and water on your truck with you at all times, okay? Just make sure it's some kind of like canned items that you guys can eat without having to heat it up in order to eat it. So like baked beans, you could do SpaghettiOs, okay? You can do different types of vegetables, anything that you guys can think of. If you want, make sure you have snacks, protein bars. If you have like emergency rations, I have some of those. They're like 2,400 calorie cube things that you can have. Works fine, okay? So make sure you guys have plenty of food options with you at all times on the truck, okay? It's very important. Also make sure you guys have water. Don't have soda, don't have teas, don't have monster drinks. It has to be water, okay? You need to stay hydrated. You actually dehydrate a lot more during the winter than what typically people do during the summer. And I think it's like you don't feel like you're sweating or you're thirsty. You know, your body acts differently during the winter. I'm not going to get into like scientific things, okay? But you still can get very dehydrated during the winter. You need to make sure you guys have plenty of water with you, okay? So if you're a new driver, I'm also going to make a PDF checklist for this. I will leave a link down below for you guys. That way you kind of have like a checklist of things that you need to do. If you're brand new, this is your first winter out in a truck, and you're like, holy crap, that was a lot of information. I will leave like a PDF down below, like as a checklist, just to kind of give you guys a general idea of what you need to do and have on the truck with you at all times, just to kind of help you give you guys a peace of mind, okay? With that being said, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. I hope this video was helpful. So if you like this kind of content and you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button, the notification bell, and also if you could leave a comment down below if you guys have any tips or tricks yourselves. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will be glad to answer it. That being said, thanks guys, I appreciate it, and I will see you next week.